Welcome back. Today we'll conclude our journey through Etude number 18 in the key of B flat major. Let's get started. Etude number 18 is an extremely difficult etude, full of complicated scale and arpeggio passages, utilizing almost the entire range of the oboe from low C up to altissimo F. Today we'll be focusing on the last 9 measures. Before we begin today, let's look at a little bit of a review. The key throughout this final part is in B flat major, and there's quite a bit of the scale involved. The scale goes from low D up to the high E flat, 2-octave range of this last section. As part of the review for this section of the etude, let's review the 2 altissimo notes necessary to perform it. The first is D6, the high D on the oboe. The high D standard fingering is half hole, 2-3 in the left hand, middle finger and low C key of the right hand. There will be an occasion, though, because of slurs, that you may wish to lift the left hand index finger. The high E flat is used in this etude as well. First, it's a chromatic scale up to high E flat. The standard fingering for that then is half hole, 2 and 3, the low B natural key of the left hand, then the second and third fingers of the right hand. But we will also have a leap from high C to E flat, and then we're going to use our alternate fingering that we introduced earlier in this video series, which is 2-3 and 2-3. You'll notice the leap goes from C, 1 and 1, to E flat, so it's a very clean and easy leap to do once you practice it. There's one arpeggio in this section. The entire measure next to the end is a B flat major arpeggio. I recommend for speed that you use regular forked F, no E flat key. Throughout the ending of that measure, measure 37, then you'll be using forked F for all of the Fs in that measure. As a reminder, in part 4 of this series, we decided to take a breath in the middle of measure 30, and you can see I have blocked that music out so that today we begin after the breath. So I want to remind you that if you follow my suggestions, you will have had a slight retard in the tempo and take a breath right in the middle of the bar as it cadences on the note F. We're going to pick it up today after that breath. Before you begin practicing this section, start with a good warm-up. Air exercises, crowing the reed, long tones in the middle of the oboe's register, extending to the low notes of the oboe, and then gradually to higher notes. Finally, of course, the B flat major scale, which will give you the vocabulary for this etude. Now let's take a look at one unusual rhythm excerpt. In measure 32, the end of the first line of the music you see, you have an unusual rest of a 32nd note. The rhythm then will be counted like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, a 1. You'll notice the 32nd note rest is not a great place for a breath because that implies what's called a dominant 7 chord, and the A needs to sound quickly to follow it. So get used to taking a breath somewhere else other than the 32nd note rest. Now let's take a look at measure 30 and its awkward technique. High D, A, C, B flat, G. I like to use left F there because it occurs on a strong beat, and I would like to hear it a little bit better in tune than forked F. You can use forked F if you find it's too awkward for you. It does work as well, but not very in tune. C sharp D, A, B flat, G, and then F. You'll need to practice these notes slowly for facility. Then begin to slur. gradually increase your speed. Do the dynamic change last, after you are comfortable with the response of the high D and the legato and the facility of slurring those awkward leaps. Measures 31 and 32 are a chromatic scale extending almost 2 octaves. Practice always with the metronome. It's important that you play evenly. Fast is not important at this stage. Remember, you're going to be using the regular high E flat fingering, which is the so-called long fingering at the top. That's the one half hold 2-3, low B key, 2-3 of the right hand. The chromatic scale should sound even throughout with a long, gradual crescendo. Now let's look at measure 34. That's the second line of this excerpt, second measure. You have a descending scale G, F, E flat, D, C, B flat, A, and then leaps C, E flat, G, F, E flat. Left F can certainly be used, but it will be very awkward to play it fast. I would suggest to you that at this measure, you use forked F throughout. I myself am using the E flat key as well. I feel like that it's reasonable to add the E flat key even at a fast tempo. So you will have to decide F on the top line, F5. How are you going to approach the fingers for that? Are you going to use left F or forked F? Once you decide, stick with your decision and mark your music. Measure 35, where I have the star written in. No getting around it. It's super awkward. First, get used to the octave Ds. Remember, the grace note will occur before the beat. That's the key to staying in tempo. You will play the previous measure 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, but like a pickup note to the downbeat. Then after the high D, you're going to have the C and the alternate E flat fingering. So something like this. Remember, on your way down to D, lower the half whole finger, the index left hand again. Those series of notes, the octave D followed by C, E flat, and D again, you're going to be practicing many times. Now let's look at the next measure, measure 36. You've got a high D there. In many cases, your oboe probably will handle the technique of the slur from B flat to D. And if it does, great. Tonguing it, of course, is no problem. But sometimes the oboe and the reed and or the player may cause problems, and you will get a squawk. If you feel like you're likely to squawk when slurring, slur the D with the left index finger up, like this. It is very slightly sharper, but it will not last for long enough that the judge will be able to tell. Recall that it's very unlikely you're going to have a panel full of oboists. A little word about shaping phrases. You've got a crescendo written in the music. Great. But from the end, the last line is entirely written as double F. That doesn't make sense. I would suggest instead, don't play at your maximum when you get to the last line. Instead, crescendo up to the spot where you have the D octave leap, and that will give a nice peak to the phrase. It is naturally the highest note anyway, so let that be your loudest spot. And then the ending, you could even back off the volume just a little bit. The importance is staying strong at the end, not necessarily a particular loud volume. Now let's discuss tempo. If you're serious about making the top level of region, area, or even a shot at state, your minimum speed at those auditions would be eighth note 180. There will be some players that can play it faster. Don't worry too much. Don't be nervous about your speed. You can only control what you can control. Only play what you can play, everything in this etude, cleanly. If that's 160, play it at 160. If it's 180, 180 or faster. At the region level, especially, playing it evenly and cleanly is more important than anything else. For most of the people watching this video, 180 to the eighth note is plenty fast enough at the region level. especially if you can play it and not miss any notes. Focus on tone quality before technique. Start by reviewing a long tone. For example, the chromatic scale starts on F. And work with that tone quality and that still face throughout moving the fingers. Keep the throat open so that you have maximum resonance. You will not pinch the upper register sharp that way, and you will have a beautiful sound even on the high E flat. We've taken a long journey together. 5 parts to get through Etude number 18. Not going to lie, it's extremely difficult. I hope you're practicing every day and journaling your progress. If I can be of help to you, please contact me at the email address or phone number below. I stand ready to assist any oboe player in Texas as they prepare for the all-region audition. Good luck, and I look forward to hearing from your successes and comments, or comments and questions through email and phone. Take care.